All right, today we're going to talk about Islamic civilizations and the spread of Islam during the Middle Ages. Ms. McCrae is going to try to keep it very brief and short, but make sure that you pay attention in your notes. So, your essential question is, how did Islamic culture and innovation shape or influence the Western world? So the first thing we have to talk about is that Muhammad is going to be the leader that spreads Islam, but eventually he'll die. And so he has two people who pop up that want to be his successor, which means that they want to take over after he passes away. Abu Bakr is going to be a close friend to Muhammad, and then Umar is going to be Abu Bakr's successor, and both of these individuals are going to expand Islam quickly. Successors during this time are called caliphs. They're the leaders, and they rule caliphates, which are the groups or tribes of people together that are ruled by the caliphs. Here's what a map looks like. So after Muhammad's death, you can see the spread of Islam over time. So with designating a successor, you're going to have things like conflict. People may not agree and divide their groups, and then it'll be an issue. So here's what happens. Abu Bakr is going to end up going against a man named Ali, who is the cousin of Muhammad, and, they kind of unify Arabia, the whole area, which is now Saudi Arabia. And Umar is also going to help Ali to create an empire. So you're spreading Islam, you have these cultural spreads, cultural diffusion, but what's going to end up happening is eventually Ali will be challenged by Uthman, who is supported by the Umayyad family or the dynasty. And so what will happen is that this family is unpopular, but they have risen to power. And so Uthman will be the leader representing the Umayyad family, and he is killed by rebels who do not agree with this new family coming to power. And so eventually, Ali at first was not a leader, but then he'll become the caliphate, and then he is killed actually in a civil war. And so the Umayyads regain their control over the empire. Okay? And so what ends up happening is that the supporters of the Umayyad Caliphate are going to be called Sunnis, and they are followers of the Prophet Muhammad, whereas people who split off and believed in Ali's leadership will be supporters, and they will be called the Shi'i. So these two groups, the Sunnis and Shi'i, are still divided today, and you'll look at a document today concerning that. You can see over time the percentage of the Shi'i and Sunni populations in the Middle Eastern countries. There as well as here, okay? And so when we move forward, we're going to talk about the Umayyad dynasty and their reign. They established control. They made Arabic the official language. They had money, like a monetary system that was uniform, so everybody used the same type of money. And they were very big on Islamic architecture. They are the empire that established the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. This is what it looks like there. And there's a lot of beautiful mosaics, but they also have domes and columns, which they got from the Greeks and the Romans. They expanded the empire to China, India, Africa, and Spain. And the significance is for their empire, their legacy is that they spread the Muslim faith around these areas around the world. So here's the decline, though. They had the Shi'i oppose this empire because, remember, they were Sunnis, and they were conquered, and people rebelled. And so then, eventually, the Abbasid family is going to unite the rivals to fight against the Umayyad Empire. Now, the Abbasid dynasty will rise after the Umayyads. They moved their capital to Baghdad, which is still a city that exists, and they established their government in a Persian style. So they have a vizier, which is like a leader. A caliph is like segregated from the public. So they have kind of like two figureheads there. They will spread Islam. The way that they spread Islam is through trade. But their decline, just like every empire has a rise and a fall, their states break away from the caliph. Sunni Muslims rebel against the Shi'i. Christians will fight with Muslims in the Holy Land, and so that is called the Crusades, and so they'll have that type of issue and struggle there. So that'll also cause a little bit of a decline or fall. Now we're going to talk about how these dynasties establish Islamic culture. First of all, family and women. Men were considered the head of the household in ancient Islamic times, and they had many wives. That's not something that happens now. The Quran says that men and women are equal under Allah, and women could actually seek a divorce. And under the Abbasid dynasties, women wore a veil, and many times they were segregated from men that were not part of their family. Now, their education system, we have gained so many innovations and educational items from Islamic culture. Back in this time, Muslims translated ancient works from Greece and Rome. They had astronomy. They used the moon for their calendar. They had an astrolabe, which is a navigation tool. They had Ibn Khaldun, who wrote history of the world, and also they had pharmacies and medical schools. This is what an astrolabe looks like. It uses the stars to navigate. Also, they had literature like the Quran, and then 1001 Nights, which is a book called Arabian Nights. It's about a woman who makes the caliphate fall in love with her so she won't be executed. Her name is Scheherazade, and there's actually like a beautiful piece of music composed with some of the Arabian tones and sounds and instruments about this story. Also, the story of Aladdin comes from the Arabian Nights. We have art. In Islamic culture, they do not paint peoples or animals because they do not believe in idol worship. They painted geometric and floral patterns in their mosque, and they used also calligraphy, which is a beautiful style of writing that people still use now. They had domes and also towers. If you look here, you can see a tower here, and then you can see the mosaics. So in the mosque, they did not have these idols or paintings of Muhammad or anything in their mosque where they worshiped, just these beautiful geometric patterns. So that is Islamic culture.